The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply. USAA.
This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV, it's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast from Tennessee. I have Cindy Baker, and she is a productivity coach and speaker, helping entrepreneurs focus for greater profits. So if you're a thought leader, speaker, influencer in the audience listening to this, Cindy's our guest for today. I'm really happy to have her on, showcase her brand, and add value to the audience. So Cindy, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Briefly detail your journey to what you're doing, and we'll dive into the questions for the audience.
All right. My background is a school counselor and teacher, and I worked with a lot of students who had ADHD, and I thought, I think I have this. So I got an adult diagnosis of ADHD and began to just experiment with what strategies work, which ones don't, and work with the way my brain is wired. And I finally put together a framework of routines and structures, habits, and just became very successful, started helping other people. And that's how my coaching business started. So now I'm doing it full time and I'm speaking. And so I help other, mostly entrepreneurs, but other professionals get over that overwhelm and manage their focus so they can grow their businesses and no burnout.
Yeah. Interesting. And I'm very curious because I'm always interested to hear how neurodivergence, they leverage their talents and their skills to actually, I wouldn't say overcome their weaknesses, but make them excel. So what is it about ADHD that makes people struggle, and what kind of hacks did you do to propel yourself to the next level?
We don't have long enough to cover all of that, but some common struggles for ADHD adults are time management. They have a different awareness of time than other people. Everything is now or not now, nothing in between. So especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're supposed to create your own structure working from home, that's difficult because they're used to being motivated by a deadline. And without that external deadline, they struggle to get themselves going. So that's one, time management. And then I think really we have more of a problem with attention management than time management.
Yeah.
Everything looks equally urgent and equally important at the same time. And they have this giant to-do list. And so one of the things that I help people with is prioritizing. And of course, other things such as forgetfulness. We have some short-term memory issues. There's some little bit of trouble with regulating emotions and things like that. So lots to deal with, but along with the challenges, there are some benefits as well. And there are a lot of successful people with ADHD that actually attribute their success to that creative out of the box thinking.
Yeah. And I'm curious about the attention management hacks. Describe some daily habits or routines you recommend for maintaining focus and reducing overwhelm.
When you're feeling overwhelmed, one thing that I have people do is just what I call a brain dump. So you get a piece of paper and don't try to do it even on the computer because you'll get distracted. Just pen and paper and just take everything out of your head and put it on paper. All the things you're trying to remember to do, your things you're worried about, things in the future, things now, just get it all out on paper. Don't organize it or anything. And then you can go back and organize it a little bit. Put categories. And so I tell people to pick your top 3 high impact tasks, just 3, no more. And if you're an entrepreneur, your high impact tasks need to be revenue producing activities. So not always the things we want to do, but the things that are going to really move your business forward. And so you take those and write those down And then I teach what I have developed is I called it a sprint focus strategy. And so you set a timer, start with 25 minutes. It's good if it's a timer that you can see, like a kitchen timer, where you can actually visualize the time passing and how much time is left. And then you get rid of all distractions. You tell people to leave you alone. You shut the door. You put your phone in the drawer or on silent, close all the tabs, put, headphones on if you have to. And you just focus on that one task, just one thing, nothing else until the timer goes off. And then you take a 5-minute break. And it's amazing because it's like you're tricking your brain into thinking this is manageable instead of overwhelming. Because I can do it. And 25 minutes is long enough to get something done, but it's short enough to keep your attention. So that's just one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I've realized is just because a lot of our attention is spent on the screen or on the phone. And sometimes, especially these 30-minute compartments are very powerful because it's just you divide your day up into 30 minutes and then you try to get as much cram pack into 30 minutes. It's amazing that your productivity skyrockets because you're focused on those 30 minutes. Yeah.
This is so easy to lose track of time. And one of my keynote talks, I talk about taking a few minutes just to check my phone, and it turns into 30 minutes of watching puppy yoga videos on YouTube. So it's just easy to lose track. And when you procrastinate in little tiny unplanned breaks like that, you're not just giving away your time. You're really giving away your dreams. You're not building the life and the business that you want every time you get distracted.
Yeah. It's really, and then with like screen and computers, it's so easy because there's so many tabs and pings and you just get lost. And then by 30 minutes, an hour later, you're like, like you said, you're watching like cat videos and just things that are triggering you. And interesting. Talk about you, because you're a productivity coach and speaker. And so what do people come to you most with? Is it mostly ADHD or is it like multitasking? What do people come to you for?
I do serve a lot of people with ADHD, but it's interesting that the strategies that are ADHD friendly work with other busy people too. So a lot of people don't have that diagnosis, but they resonate with some of those symptoms. They get easily distracted or they procrastinate. And so a lot of people come just wanting some accountability and some help and training on how to get more done, the right things done with less stress, and get that clarity, learn how to prioritize. And a lot of people come with money goals, wanting to increase their profit in their business. And some just want to feel more on top of things and not like they're all over the place.
Yeah. And another great book that I read was called by Tony Schwartz, and he was talking about managing energy and how do your routines and your hacks for attention and time management differ, for example, at the beginning of the day versus middle and end of the day, when our energy levels and the day is like midday or at the end of the day, like the most important things are done. How to talk about the strategies that you use when you're low energy.
Yeah, I think it's important to track your energy cycles, your focus cycles, because some people are morning people. They're ready to conquer the day first thing in the morning, and other people don't really hit their stride till like mid-afternoon. And so you should notice that for a few days, maybe a week. Jot down when are your emotions up? When is your physical energy up? When are you most mentally sharp?
Yeah.
And you want to guard your peak productivity times, and you want to do the most important things, those 3 things during those hours. Those are your power hours. So you don't want to spend those hours just scrolling through email and doing admin tasks and things like that, because I've used the illustration before. That's like using a bulldozer to pick up weeds from your garden. It's very mismatched. I think that is important. And of course, self-care is really important when you're talking about guarding your energy. If I stay up too late and don't get enough sleep, it affects me mentally the next day. If I'm dehydrated and I drink a bunch of caffeine, no water, they're connected. And so one thing is just to plan your tasks according to your natural focus cycles, your energy cycles. A lot of times those run about like 90 minutes and then they change. So just to be aware of that, I think is important.
Yeah, I find the hours of 3 to 5 a.m. the best because people are just sleeping, and if you're like and then if you go to bed like really early and then you wake up fresh, and it's like that can be like you can get 2 or 3 days worth of work done in a day. The other question I have for you is with this when you talk about the entrepreneur, and I'm not sure if you've heard of Scrum, how does your method incorporate elements of Scrum or Lean Six Sigma, these different productivity paradigms with?
Yeah, and I've heard of Scrum, but remind me what that stands for again.
It's it's a productivity where it's basically you do things it basically is project based and it's time, and it's like a sprint, and then
Yeah.
you can work like 6 weeks like super hard, and then like once that's done, and it's really good with like teams. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It is a little different if you have ADHD, so you do have to take that into consideration. But I think the principles are the same. So even if you're just a solopreneur, you're working by yourself, you don't have a team, you do have to things in the right time slots. One of the things that I have my clients use is the Eisenhower matrix, which President Eisenhower has this famous quote where he says the things that are important are seldom urgent, and the things that are urgent are seldom important. And so he uses those two criteria. And so it's just 4 quadrants, and the things that are the most important and the most urgent, those are the things that you need to focus on. You pick your top 3 and you do those first thing. And that way, even if the rest of the day gets derailed, you've already won. And then the things that are important but aren't as urgent, you're going to schedule those for later.
Yeah.
The things that are urgent but not as important, you can delegate those. And the things that are not important and not urgent, maybe they need to go off your list.
Yeah. Yeah. And along those same lines, what mindset shifts do you think are essential for entrepreneurs or neurodivergence to succeed? Because I know people like when they say I have ADHD or dyslexia, it's like a negative stigma, but actually what mindset shift can you make to make it positive?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because so many people and even organizations just emphasize the negative. Like I've been in these supposed support groups for ADHD, and it's just a bunch of people whining and blaming everybody. Nobody understands me, and they're not making accommodations for me, and
Yeah.
my life is a wreck because my brain doesn't. I'm just like, oh my gosh, there are so many extremely successful people. In fact, I just did a masterclass, and I mentioned 2 of those people on my masterclass. One is Sir Richard Branson. He's a billionaire, and he has ADHD, and he speaks very positively of it. David Neilman is another one. He's the founder of JetBlue Airlines. He was actually interviewed and asked, if you could take a pill that would take away your ADHD, would you do it? And he said, no. He said, yes, there are challenges, but with the challenges come positives like creativity, problem solving, risk taking, out of the box thinking. So he's able to look out on this complicated industry with all these problems, and he can distill those into simplified solutions. His brain just naturally says, how could we do this better? And some of that comes from dealing with struggles all your life and trying to figure out how to work around it and how to overcome. And so instead of only looking at, and this goes for everybody, not just ADHD people, but instead of only looking at your weaknesses and working on your weaknesses, make sure you're also finding out what you're good at and leveraging your strengths. Because, for instance, there's a phenomena called hyperfocus, where an ADHD person just loses track of time because they're so engaged in something and they're hyperfocused. That can be a bad thing, or you can leverage it for good. And so if you know that you're going to tend to lose track of time, then save that to the end after you've done everything else, or do it at the beginning, but set a timer to jolt you out of that hyper focused and be like, oh yeah, I've got to move on. So once you figure out how your brain works, you can do both. You can leverage your strengths and manage your challenges. And they're both important. Some people say, oh, well, ADHD is so great and it's your superpower. And okay, maybe, but you do have to look at the challenges. Otherwise, you won't function in business. But if you only look at your challenges, you're going to miss opportunities because your brain might even be a competitive edge for you.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think Bono, the famous rock star, he's actually a neurodivergent too, and it's quite interesting that a lot of entrepreneurs have ADHD, and I'm
Mhm.
wondering if the reason why they're so successful is because of ADHD, and because basically the school system kind of pre-selects for the not like just a different style of learning. In that light, describe your coaching program. What outcomes can participants expect? Do you need to be ADHD or talk about that?
Yeah, no, you don't have to be ADHD, but because I have ADHD, everything that I teach is ADHD friendly, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work for other people. My program is called Focus to Fortunes because if you can manage your focus, you're going to make more money in your business. And there are two levels. The more you pay, the more access to me you get, the more training. But basically, both of them help provide that accountability and that structure that people need to implement strategies. I do teach strategies, but you can go get free strategies on the internet. The difference is you've got somebody to help you match it to your specific situation. Okay, so how does that work in this situation? And so when we meet on Zoom, they're able to talk out those issues, and we always share wins because, again, it's important to look at the positive and then troubleshoot challenges, and we set goals every time. And there's an accountability piece there, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot more to it. It's amazing the change. People learn how to motivate themselves, how to stay motivated, how to follow through on things that they've started, and how to reach their goals faster and easier.
Mm. And how can people connect with you, and if they were reach out to you and learn more from you?
Yeah, my website is cindybakercoaching.com. I have a free gift that I'll give your audience, a little mini course on how to beat procrastination, and that's at waitnomore.net. So waitnomore.net. And I've got I have a Facebook group and some other things. I'll give you those links. You can put them in the show notes.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much for coming on and a great discussion, and keep up the great work.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.